Have you ever wondered how a man who was once intended for the priesthood became the ruthless commandant of the Auschwitz concentration camp? In this video, we'll delve deeper into the horrific execution of Nazi Commandant Rudolf Höss and explore the atrocities that occurred under his leadership. This story is not for the faint of heart, but it is a crucial reminder of the horrors of the Holocaust and of the importance of never forgetting the past. So, stay tuned until the end to uncover the true horrors of one of the most notorious figures in the Holocaust. Rudolf Höss, the infamous commandant of Auschwitz concentration and extermination camp, was born in 1901 into a strict Catholic family in Baden-Baden, German Empire. Raised by his father, a former army officer who instilled in him a rigid adherence to military discipline and religious principles, Höss was intended for the priesthood. However, the death of his father at age 15 and the outbreak of World War I diverted his path. Höss briefly served in the military hospital before being drafted into the German army at 15 and sent to the Turkish front. He quickly distinguished himself, becoming the youngest non-commissioned officer in the army and earning multiple honors for bravery in action, including the Iron Cross First and Second Class. After Germany's defeat in 1918, Höss returned home with a sense of betrayal over the country's armistice. He completed his education and joined the Freikorps, participating in attacks against Polish people during the Silesian Uprising and French nationals during the occupation of the Ruhr. Höss's early experiences in war and the Freikorps contributed to his extreme militaristic and nationalistic views, which later played a significant role in his role as the commandant of Auschwitz. Rudolf Höss was drawn to the Nazi Party in 1922, after listening to a speech by Adolf Hitler in Munich. This followed the rise of right-wing politics in Germany after World War I, which blamed Jews for Germany's defeat and subsequently humiliating peace agreement. Höss, along with other members of the Freikorps, participated in the brutal murder of Walter Kadow in Melkenberg on 31st May 1923. They believed Kadow had informed the French occupational authorities that one of their members, Albert Leo Schlageter, was sabotaging French supplies. Schlageter was subsequently executed by firing squad on 26 May 1923, and several Freikorps members, including Höss and Martin Bormann, sought revenge. Höss was arrested and found guilty of leading the gang that committed the murder on 17 May 1924. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison, while Bormann was sentenced to 1 year. Höss remained a committed Nazi and was released in 1928 as part of a general amnesty. He went on to work peacefully on various farms and estates for the next 6 years before joining the SS in 1934 after being invited by Heinrich Himmler. Höss excelled in his duties and was quickly promoted, eventually holding the position of block leader at the Dachau concentration camp, the first such camp built in Nazi Germany. He was so enamored with Himmler that he preferred to display his picture in his office rather than that of Hitler. Rudolf Höss, a member of the SS, was promoted to SS captain in 1938 and became the commandant of the Sachsenhausen concentration camp. Following the invasion of Poland, he joined the Waffen SS in 1939 and oversaw the establishment of the Auschwitz concentration camp in early 1940. Höss was appointed as the commandant of the camp and was determined to make it more efficient than previous camps he had served in, such as Dachau and Sachsenhausen. He expanded the camp into a vast complex consisting of 3 separate facilities: Auschwitz I, Auschwitz II, Birkenau, and Auschwitz III, Monowitz. In May 1941, Heinrich Himmler informed Höss that Adolf Hitler had ordered a final solution to the Jewish problem, and he had to keep it a secret from his superiors. Höss was to receive operational orders from Adolf Eichmann. Höss began testing various gas methods for mass murder and, in September 1941, started to use small gas chambers located deep in forests to avoid detection. The use of Zyklon B, a poison gas that Höss had previously used to murder Russian prisoners of war, was suggested by his deputy, Karl Fritz. The concentration camp known as Auschwitz rose to prominence as the most lethal killing center for European Jews during the Holocaust. Here, the greatest number of people were put to death. Rudolf Höss, who was the commandant of Auschwitz during its transformation into an extermination center, was responsible for the installation of gas chambers in crematoria. Upon arrival, the prisoners were divided into 2 groups: those fit for work and those unfit, such as the elderly, children, and mothers with children, who were sent directly to the gas chambers to prevent panic and protest. Those unfit for work included those who were unable to perform manual labor, such as the elderly, children, and mothers with children. Höss gave the orders to the guards that they should use deception rather than brute force to lure the prisoners to the gas chambers. The guards were to tell the prisoners that they were going to get a shower and a delousing. This ruse was successful in fooling many people, and Höss claimed to have felt the weight of this horrible task, especially when it came to killing children. A significant number of high-ranking Nazi leaders and SS officers traveled to Auschwitz in order to observe the execution of prisoners there. After seeing the atrocities that were committed during the final solution, some people went into silence. It is speculated that Höss had an affair with a political prisoner named Eleanor Heutz, which led to his replacement by Arthur Liebenskell in December 1943. Höss was given the responsibility of leading the SS main economic and administrative office after being promoted. Rudolf Höss made his way back to Auschwitz on May 8th of the same year, immediately following Nazi Germany's occupation of Hungary in March of 1944. Over 585,000 Jewish people, including 430,000 Hungarian Jews, were transported under his supervision to the concentration camp. They were all eliminated in the span of only 56 days. In recognition of his service, Höss was presented with the War Merit Cross and later transferred to the Ravensbrück concentration camp in 1945 as the Soviet Red Army advanced. Höss managed to escape Auschwitz and resume his duties in Berlin as the end of the war drew closer. Himmler gave him the recommendation that, in order to avoid arrest, he should dress up as a German sailor. However, on March 11, 1946, nearly a year later, he was apprehended by troops belonging to the British military. Höss initially denied that he was who he claimed to be, but a British Army captain noticed that he was still wearing his wedding ring and threatened to amputate Höss's finger if he didn't take it off. After discovering the names Rudolf and Hedwig engraved on the stones, Höss at last admitted to his true identity. His wife had given away his whereabouts in order to protect her son Klaus from the British soldiers who were beating him. Her greatest concern was that he would be extradited to the Soviet Union, where he would either be imprisoned or tortured. On April 15, 1946, former Auschwitz concentration camp commandant Rudolf Höss gave testimony before the International Military Tribunal in Nuremberg. The trial was held in Germany. When questioned about the number of victims killed, he admitted that he was to blame for the deaths of at least 2.5 million victims who were put to death and exterminated at Auschwitz through the use of gassing and burning. He went on to say that the number of people who had passed away due to starvation and disease had increased by another 500,000, bringing the total number of deaths to approximately 3 million. He disclosed that approximately 400,000 Hungarian Jews were among those put to death at Auschwitz in the summer of 1944. Later on, the Polish authorities put Höss on trial for his wartime atrocities, and he was ultimately found guilty and sentenced to death by hanging. On April 2, 1947, Höss did not make an appeal for leniency. However, he did ask the court for permission to send a farewell letter to his family and to return his wedding ring to his wife. He also returned his wedding ring to his wife. It was decided to comply with his request. The request of former prisoners at Auschwitz to have their executions carried out at the location of the concentration camp was granted by the court. In the former Auschwitz concentration camp, on the 16th of April, 1947, Rudolf Höss was executed by hanging on a short rope gallows that had been constructed at the location of the camp's Gestapo, next to the crematorium. As we come to the end of this video, it's clear that Rudolf Höss's life was one filled with violence, hatred, and ultimately unfathomable atrocities. His actions as the commandant of Auschwitz will forever be remembered as some of the darkest moments in human history. It's important that we continue to educate ourselves about the Holocaust, learn from the past, and never forget the millions of innocent lives lost. If you found this video informative, please consider sharing it with others and subscribing to our channel for more thought-provoking content.